Kandaroo presentation part 1, take 1, strategy and structure. So I'm gonna try and take this in a one take. Let's see how it goes. If the pencil turns out to be not too clear, I will draft another one with a marker. Okay, so here goes. Back in May, like I mentioned, you approached me regarding Kandaroo, which is a product and an app. I'd like to make kangaroo ears for this one. And we will discuss this in length in upcoming presentations about product and action plan and rollout plan. However, halfway through our discussions, we, both you and I, came up to the conclusion that an accelerator is a long-term good idea. It's actually an immediately good idea. First of all, it will be the company that will house the product. So this is our product. We're going to package it under Kandaroo, under the accelerator, and develop it until it's a standalone product. So basically everything that happens in the accelerator in the short term, 3 to 5 years, is directly contributing to Kandaroo. 100%. What is the other benefits of this? A, it will give us cover, so we don't have to really discuss the product with third parties if we don't need to. This will also let us house all the technology and all the resources under this company, under the accelerator, so that if the Kandaroo does not work out, this will be our fallback plan, as we have discussed before. So everything will be housed here. And finally, it's really a form of double dipping, which we have just increased our pie from 1 to 2 pies, which we can leverage equity to either or both simultaneously. It just gives us all this much leverage. And part of the cover also, it lets us approach other companies or techs for their software or alliances without again discussing the Kandaroo. So these are the 4 main benefits here. I don't see any drawbacks of starting the accelerator right away along with Kandaroo, given that all the resources going here are driving the Kandaroo product and solely discuss for it. I see some economies of scale in terms of establishing it through, let's say, lawyers, accountants, corporate branding. All these can be done cheaper together at once. We can streamline the companies and objectives right off the bat and establish synergy right off the bat, making this a unified company going forward. Now, through my research, I've looked into over 200 companies, did a deep dive in about 50 of them, including looking at their investments and trends in investments and where the company and equity firms are investing. And then it hit me that that is your bread and butter. This is what you do. You are an equity manager, a portfolio manager. And it, with all your experience and legacy, is why not go back to your roots and we establish an AK Tech investment firm. This will be the money maker. This is where you, AK, as an equity fund, as a previous equity fund manager, a professor in economics, will go out and we will get money, 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 money. This includes going to investor seminars, angel investor groups, networking, and contacts in the upper echelon of funding environment. As we said, This will eventually have its own directives. We can create funds and portfolios that are profitable on their own stand, and then we can direct some of the riskier investments into either the accelerator or Kandaroo. And this way you can funnel the money we are able to raise to these firms, and also the tech investment firm will act as the financial arm of Kandaroo or accelerator in any large investment deals, sell-offs or anything, while let the percentages be taken by another firm when we can keep them in-house and profit from them. So in total, what I like to call these the Holy Trinity. For the first 3 to 5 years, they will act as one single body. Every resource going into here will be distributed equally, or as we see fit in the business plan. They will function as one entity, the Godfather, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, all acting together under one umbrella, one objective for the 3 to 5 years, after which they can disengage and become their own separate entities. And again, as I said, we are not now just double dipping, we are triple dipping with three equity resources where you can draw money into either three of these companies or all three together. Down the line, we might want to establish a holding company to house all these ones, which will have the technology, the funding resources, and an active product. Again, they all help each other. There's a lot of synergy, every resource, and we'll see this in the action plan and the business plan, how our hiring practices will leverage the benefits of each of these individually and have a lean, mean, streamed, corporate machine. All three working together. Again, I don't see any drawbacks from starting them now, having them established, establishing the synergy, the growth, the long-term plans for each. I think we can really utilize our image, you and I, as investors, and the growth. And now to answer the big question in the structure, Egypt versus LA. Now, I know from what I understand is Hatem is working on a financial model for Egypt. I would like to see what are the benefits versus and pros and cons for each. Of course, when it comes to Egypt, the biggest advantage there is a large labor pool. Things are cheaper in Egypt, and there's a good infrastructure for technology, and of course, you have great contacts there. I am hard pressed to find any more advantages in Egypt, so I will leave this up to you or proponents of Egypt to elaborate what other advantages there might be in Egypt. As far as LA, being established in LA specifically, here are the advantages. The marketplace. And this, of course, will be discussed thoroughly in the product and marketplace for Kandaroo. However, in general, the size, volume, and number of transactions in the US will outstrip anything in Egypt or the Middle East completely. It's just by far. Additionally, the ad revenue will be again much larger coming from the US than from Egypt, as well as the demand and supply is much stronger in the US. Again, we will see this, we'll prove all these points in the action plan, including hidden revenue options. Secondly, LA is the tech hub. LA, San Francisco is the tech hub. We will have the early adopters. We'll have the best talent, access to the best talent. and the best resources. I'm getting sloppy with my handwriting. Resources which include federal, state, and city tech resources, as well as community resources, which include USC, which has a huge tech program. So will lead us to interns. We can tap into, especially that you are a professor there. We'll tap into their resources and infrastructure, to their talent. In USC, I have an in at UCLA. And by community resources, I mean there's a lot of also co-op hubs. That's where technology is. This is where we'd want to be. Secondly, this is where the big money is, or I mean, third, this is where all the huge tech investors are in California. People like Michael Hart and all your, you can leverage all your great contacts. Plus, it's an investment appeal. I mean, it's easier to sell an app, accelerator, or tech firm that is based in LA rather than one that's based in Cairo. So again, there's a lot of appeal there, and a lot we can leverage from being based in LA as opposed to based in Egypt. Again, there's a lot, many factors here that vouch for it. One I want to mention specifically is taxes. As an American resident, you will be taxed for income. If you have your business in Egypt, you will be taxed income and capital gains. So you'll be taxed twice if the business is in Egypt. However, if the business is based in LA, you'll only get taxed in the States. These are the main advantages I find for LA versus Egypt or Cairo. And if we go into the cons, so pros, cons. If we go into the cons, Egypt is overcrowded, the market, already with informal, which are all your drivers and Bawabin, with Suyas, with Farrashin that can deliver what we want to do here. We have the formal market, which is already very crowded with a lot of delivery apps. A lot of them have to have their own fleet because the demand and supply is not balanced there yet. So they're doing it by providing a fleet, their own fleet. So it's a lot of companies and apps competing for this market space, and you have the government, which is coming in and taking a bite out of everything. Additionally, two big factors would be the scalability, which is growing from Cairo to have it applied to the world. It usually doesn't work this way. The US does not adopt technology from abroad easier, so it makes scalability from Egypt to and the Middle East to the US quite difficult, as opposed to the vice versa, where we develop in the US and bring it to the Middle East. And lastly, stability. I'm afraid that Egyptian investment climate is not very stable on a short term with political uprising, and the long term looks bleak with Sadd al-Nahda and a few other issues to attract investors or people working, foreign talent working in Egypt. As far as cons in establishing in the States, the only thing I can think of is the money. It's just a little more money to establish there. So if we take all these factors and see what we want to do, in terms of Egypt, to benefit from this is I suggest we make Egypt the tech and service hub. Meaning we will house here all the coders, all of the technology. We can outsource it. We can have a remote manager. It's just all the coders are there, as well as service, customer service, and after sales service, corporate accounts. All this can be managed from Egypt, taking advantage of these two things. Well, three things. Your contacts will still be there. I think they will even have better appeal or a chance of investing in a US firm than in Egypt. People want to take their money out of Egypt. So this way, we can just leverage everything in Egypt and manage it from our HQ in LA. As far as combating the con of being expensive, well, the business plan, the action plan will show how we will be mean and lean. We are not going to have a big offices or lots of staff or anything. Actually, this is very dependent on being in the US, because we want to find consultants that will verify our technology and our business plans. The best of them, the resources are in the States, and we can use the resources. And I will make this point further in when we're talking about the action plan, how to leverage the consultants instead of hiring staff and expanding that way. So overall, I think I made a good made a good case for the U.S. versus L.A. There's a lot to discuss here and flesh out. It's it's not white or black or white. Like I said, we can diversify this way. Being in the U.S. with headquarters, we can easily have an Egypt office and a Canada office too, if we need. And this way, we are suddenly became an international accelerator based out of LA. There's a lot more appeal and strength in that, I believe. And combined with what we want to do in LA, we will establish these companies right off the bat, figure out the percentages, and have them all well-oiled machine servicing the Kandaroo for 3 to 5 years. Okay. As I previously said, I'm probably losing a lot in translation here. I have a lot more points to make, but I don't want to make that video longer than it has to be. Let me know any immediate concerns. If I believe this is a good snapshot of it, of the presentation, I can make it into with a marker if you need to, and I'll leave it at that for now.